Bamboo Project Podcast starts in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Bamboo Project Podcast. My name is Donovan Gray, the future $10 billion man. On the way to 10 billion, I decided I'm going to help create 1,000 millionaires, including myself, and not by being a guru or selling a course, but by doing the things I already love to do every day and documenting the journey to get there. I figure I'll make all the mistakes so you don't have to. My name is Donovan Gray, and this is how I will turn my life into a living. I'd like to start off by giving a shout out to all the people rocking with us and supporting the channel. We really appreciate you. We are currently streaming on all major streaming platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, you name it, we on it. And if we not on it, we about to be on it. For everyone listening to this podcast and not watching it, you can find us on YouTube at The Bamboo Project. We have over 400 videos on our channel. You want to learn real estate? We got that. You want cooking tutorials inspired by Dr.Sebi? We got that. Travel and lifestyle vlogs? Got it. You want makeup and hair growth tutorials? Got it. Basketball? Got it. It's everything us. All the parts of the journey that do not make it to YouTube will be on our story. You can find me on Instagram at Donovan Gray, DONIVANGRAY, and my phenomenal, beautiful, amazing girlfriend, Anita Byrne, ANETABURN. The Bamboo Project is about turning your life into a living by making money off the things you already do every day. We made different playlists for all the things we are into, and you can find all of those links in the description box below. This may be your first time here, and if it is, welcome to the family. But for everyone else, this is chapter 2, page 95, all right, of the story. The podcast has 4 different segments. We have the life update, episode playback, Donovan's questions, and the topic of the day. All video and audio timestamps will be in the description box below. Today's date is January 11th, and it is 12:46 p.m. All right, so before we get started on the podcast, we start off with screen time. What that is when Melissa and I look at our phones to see how much time we spent on our phone last week. We like to try and track it so we can see, you know, if there's any place that we can kind of curtail how much time we're spending, you know, trying to save some time, make some more money. Okay, so for last week, I spent an average of 8 hours and 40 minutes on my phone. The most used day was Saturday, which was 12 hours and 12 minutes, which is not that much of a surprise because of the craft fair. Probably Friday was 11 hours, which was an hour and a half on Instagram, an hour and a half on Uno, and an hour and a half on YouTube Studio. That's for Friday. So my most used apps were Instagram, Safari, and Waze. I had an average amount of pickups, which was 113, which is up from last week, yeah, that pickup thing is kind of crazy. To me, that just shows me how much I'm thinking about what's on my phone. My first used app after pickup was Mail, Instagram, and then my messages. And yeah, that's it. So what is your screen time?
My screen time for last week was 7 hours and 25 minutes.
Oh, it's kind of high.
Yeah. 12 hours was Google Maps. 7.5 hours was Instagram. 5 hours was my messages. 4 hours with my camera. So, yeah.
Oh, damn. 4 hours you was recording?
Right. I was recording for the craft fair. Let's see. My pickups for last week was like 145. First use after pickups was messages. But yeah, 12 hours on Google Maps. That's how y'all know I be driving.
It means you were in the car for at least 12 hours. Right. So first things first for life update is the craft fair. Okay, Melissa has started a company called Ember Candle Co. Okay, and she is hand making candles, right? Over the weekend, we had a scheduled craft fair for Saturday and Sunday. It was a test run or a trial run to see what would be the response to selling candles. And I have to say that it was a very, very good response. More, I don't know if it was more than I thought. I feel like I kind of thought we would make what we made. But it was definitely still a pleasant surprise to see how much we made from selling candles. And like I said, Melissa's going to make a video about that because there were so many ups, downs, spinning in a block. There was a lot of, we thought we wasn't going to do it. We thought we were going to do it. We can't do it. This is not working. So there was it's a lot of things that go into that. Now, all of the videos already recorded for that, and I'm not sure. Do you have a date when you want to start editing that video?
I have to think about it.
It's going up next week, you said? He said, I think your goals is one video a week.
Right, I'm already behind.
So we might have to.
Am I behind?
Yes.
I feel like I edited it. When did I edit the YouTube journey video?
I think that was the week before last.
Damn. Sure, I guess.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to, because I would have to download it to my computer, and like with space, like I just keep adding videos that I'm editing, and it's making these large ass libraries that's not getting put out. So
that video's gonna be up next week. I mean, if you want to do it this week, that's cool too. So, I mean, I don't know about this week. I feel like next week will be better because the YouTube video is gonna go up this week. But yeah, so in that, over the weekend, we sold about 50 candles. No, more than 50 candles. Close to 50. Yeah, we sold like 50 candles. We sold 20 one day, like 23. Yeah, 23 sales one day, 20 sales the other day, and that's not including doubles up. So we sold about 50 candles in one weekend, and we made close to $1,000 in the weekend. So you know me, I'm all about big business. I'm trying to figure out how can we turn this into $1 million. Like, how can we expand this? Because obviously it seems like people like it. They like the brand. I'll put a picture on the screen of what the setup looked like. If you already saw it on Instagram, then you know you'll see it again here. People love the setup. They love the candles. They love the packaging. They love the smell. It was great. Now, what we ran into was that we have not taken the vaccine. So because of that, we were not able to go ourselves and sell the candles. So my mom and Melissa's brother actually helped us sell the candles, and they did phenomenal. Like, they did so well that everybody there was thinking like, damn, like I might want to do what they're doing. My mom and her brother were selling candles to people that actually were having booths set up there. So it was just great. Melissa had the great idea to put the scent of the candles onto more or less business cards so people could smell them and take them with them. So it was just a great weekend overall. It was a lot of driving around for sure. It was a whole lot of driving around those 2 days. And I didn't tell you this though. So how much money do you think? Well, I don't know if there's only those 2 days, but how much? Can I even ask that? I was going to ask, how much money do you think we spent on those 2 days outside of the craft fair that technically are tied to the price of the craft fair? Five what? $512.
You did the math?
I have it on my computer. Come on, babe. You know I got the finance report.
Oh, so and you count all the stuff I bought too.
Everything, anything that's you bought with a card that you used the card for is on there.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like gas, food, and definitely material. Because I did the math myself, and I know that my materials came up to like probably like four or something. So that yeah, and honestly, the most expensive thing was the table and the fabrics.
How much was that?
The table, the fabrics, and lights.
Okay.
The lights came up to 80. The fabrics came up to probably like 80, honestly, like 70, 80. And then the table was 40 or 50.
Yeah. So yes, it was a very good experience. Now, what the problem is this: we're trying to figure out how we would be able to do this again because we don't want to burden people to have them do the craft fair for us every weekend until we leave, and they want Melissa to get the vaccine before, if she's going to be the one that's actually working there. So the other one that we found is outside, and we live in New York, so y'all know outside ain't really always gonna be nice. All right, so y'all know we are not getting the vaccine. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna have to grab me and hold me down, and other than that, there's no way I'm going to get it. So you can best believe I'm not getting it for a craft fair. You can best believe I'm not gonna get it for these jobs, nothing. So we're trying to figure out how can we go about making money from these craft fairs. So it's looking like we're probably gonna have to move to Atlanta to do it there. And maybe, have you decided on doing the one outside yet?
Probably. We just have to, I would have to finesse the whole generator situation, heaters, and then inventory. So.
So yeah, so you know, what?
Yeah, because I don't think a generator would be a bad investment. So it's like, let's.
We have a little tiny studio apartment. It's gonna turn into a storage room.
Right.
The next thing on the life update I want to talk to you guys about is something that I've learned about myself over the last couple of days. Y'all know that I went out and I got this planner. I talked about it last week. It's called a Panda Planner, and it's an amazing planner in my opinion. I think it's phenomenal, and it has like months, week, days, all of that stuff. You can look it up online and see which one that I have. So what I've been doing is I've been tracking how much I complete percentage wise of each of my goals list, because as y'all also know, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we went over on the podcast what goals we completed and which goals we did not complete from 2021 after we watched that video from whatever podcast that was. It dawned on me that we completed like 2 goals out of all the goals we had. And I feel like the reason that happened is because on a day-to-day basis, we were not completing all the goals we had for the day. I know I was. I can speak for Melissa. I know me personally, I would have X amount of goals. Let's say I had 10. I was not completing enough of those goals. And what I said on that podcast was, how can I expect myself to hit my yearly goal if I'm not even hitting my daily goals? If I'm completely missing my daily goals day after day after day, all I'm doing is giving myself less of a chance to hit my yearly goals for the whole year. So I said, okay, I'm going to try and keep a score of how much of my goals of the day I do. So I have a percentage at the bottom of the paper, right? And first I want to say is I have not hit 100% yet. Today's the 11th, and I have not hit 100%. The highest I think I've gotten is 88%. I had a couple 30s in a row. I had a 50, and here's why I'm bringing this up. I have gotten 71 and 72% like 4 or 5 days in a row. And that may not seem too crazy to other people, but to me it's crazy because on those days, I felt like I really killed it. I'm like, okay, I'm killing it. I'm doing all of my goals. I'm knocking them out. I'm getting things done, editing videos. I'm making phone calls. I'm doing, whatever administrative work we have to do. I'm writing down my expenses. I'm putting the monthly highlights. I'm doing my spreadsheet, everything. I'm doing all of these things. And then at the end of the day, it's probably like 10:30. I'm like, okay, I feel like I worked hard as hell today. I check my percentage and it's 71 or 72%. So after like the first day or the second day, it was kind of just like, okay, that's just a coincidence that keeps happening or whatever. But it happened for about maybe 2 or 3 more days after that. Now, the reason why it's crazy to me is because I've always said that I have this inclination to not finish things 100%. I may have said that on a podcast before, I don't know, but in my head I've always thought I do things up to about 90% and then I stop. And the reason that I feel like I do that is because when I was younger, my mom would always allow me to kind of, do my homework at night and then finish it in the morning. And I kind of always approach things from like, okay, do as much as you can now and then do a little bit later, as opposed to, which is like my sister, who's more or less like, do everything right now, like do it all now and not have to worry about it again. That's not really what I come from personally, like mentally. That's not how I look at it. So now I start to actually see it in real time since I'm writing down the percentages. And this is, to me, the biggest thing about all of this. My body reacts like, okay, I'm exhausted after I do X amount of tasks. And each day was a different amount of tasks. So that means that maybe on one day I might do 7 out of 10. The next day I might do, what is that, 8 out of 12, something like that. So it's like, even though the task amount are changing, I'm still doing about 70% of it. So I'm like, okay, this is obviously a problem, because I think I'm doing my best. I'm trying hard to at least complete the list, and I just keep getting 71, 72%. So now that I have been able to see that, I can readjust and try and change why it's happening, because my goal is to be able to do 100% of my list every day. That's my goal, or at least get as close to I can as possible. I think high 80s, 90s and up would be the best, but 71 is not cutting it, 50 is not cutting it, and I had 33% a couple times in a row. So that's something that me personally, I'm going to, really start getting and staying on top of. I think I've had 80%, 80, 85, 88 for the last couple of days. I was actually going to put this on Instagram. I have finished my first book of the year. I have finished reading The Psychology of Money. Let me show the thing here. Hold on. I'm like, hi, you read Clifford the Big Red Dog. Okay, so this is the book I read most recently. I just finished this. It's called The Psychology of Money. All right, boom, Psychology of Money. It's by Morgan Housel. I think it was a cool book. I think personally, it's like an entry book starter to money. I don't really think it's, if you don't read a lot right now, or you aren't heavy into finances, I think it's a good book to read. The Psychology of Money, just to kind of start yourself to get comfortable reading more. I've read a lot of books similar to that already, but it was cool. It did have some interesting quotes in it. Now, the next book that I'm reading, this is by Robert Greene, which I've probably heard of. He is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The 48 Laws of Power, which I personally think the book is kind of controversial or whatever, but I think it's a lot of different things about the book. But either way, the new book that I'm reading by Robert Greene is called The Laws of it's called The Laws of Human Nature. Okay, now The Psychology of Money is 238 pages, and this book by Robert Greene is honestly literally about double the size of that. It's 560 something pages. 588 pages. So this will be my next book, and then I actually already have in mind the book I want to read after this. It's called, I think, called The Black Swan Method. It's a book on negotiating. So I want to learn about selling and stuff like that more. But that's kind of where we at with my goals for the year. So we starting off on a somewhat good note. Actually, okay, there's two things I want to bring up. So before the podcast started, right, I told Melissa, and this is for you guys too, because so y'all know, I know how y'all get. So I want to give y'all a disclaimer. You can leave right now. I'll give y'all like a couple seconds to get, turn the phone off, or unplug it, take your AirPods out, wherever you listen to it at. If you're in the car, you can turn the station, whatever it is. If you personally are not, if you are a very sensitive person, I think it would be good for you to leave now. If you are not able to hear other ideas that contradict what you personally think, I don't think this is the podcast for you. And I'm about to go into a conversation and honestly some COVID related things that happened to me over the week. So y'all can either fast forward if that's what y'all want to do, that's up to you, or you could just turn it off. But now that I have gotten the disclaimer out the way, there's a couple of things I want to address. Okay. The first thing I want to address is this. What happened? So the first thing I want to address is this. I believe still that it's about to be over. And in terms of over, I don't mean the actual virus going away. I feel like in terms of how crazy it is and the anxiety everybody has, I think the media is going to probably slow down on reporting on it. I also think that the mandates won't be as severe. And I also think that a lot of people are starting to kind of have to deal with the repercussions of what they did in relation to COVID over the last 2 years. I think right now the Supreme Court is looking over whether or not the mandate is even constitutional. You know, they talked about the guy, the Fauci dude. They're saying that he is going back to court for something else as far as some new information came out. There is a website called Project Veritas. Yeah, probably I've never heard of it, but where I'm at now in terms of media, I like to handpick my media. So Project Veritas is something I like to look at, and a new Twitter account I found is called disclose.tv. I like, and I did not know this is something that I would want. I like opinionless news. I don't like a storyline. That's not why I turn the news on. Tell me, I want you to be as boring and as plain as possible. You are there just so you can read it to me while I'm doing something else. I don't need you to tell me how you feel, how it affects you, what you think about something. I don't care. That's not why I turn the news on. This is not reality TV. I don't want to know your backstory. Honestly, I don't want to know you have kids. I don't want to know unless you married, if you gay, if you straight, if you trans. I don't want to know any of those things about you. I should not know those things because you're not on TV for that. I want you to sit there as boring as possible and go, today's news says 2,000 people are marching down the street on 5th Avenue. Take a different route to 6th Avenue. That's all I want you to do. That's it. I don't need you to tell me the terrible Black Lives Matter protesters who recently had a girl who was trans, and I don't need all of that. I don't need you to tell me your opinion on the Black Lives Matter protest. I don't need your opinion on trans or any of those things. I just want the straight up news. So disclose.tv has been giving me that. Project Veritas is something else that kind of gives me that. And they released 2 different things recently. One was that, what are they saying? Oh, they were saying that this was, I believe this was Project Veritas released this one. In 2019 or 2018, they already knew that ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, whatever it is, hydrochloroquine. Yeah, I know the word I'm trying to say. Okay. They said that those 2 things and one other one was proven to be a successful treatment for COVID. Right? This is the people, the same people, either whether it was Fauci or whoever, the same people that told us not to take it had said it was proven already that those three things help no matter what phase of the sickness you're in. Whether you just got it, you already have it, it's later in the time period that you did have it. Those 3 things help. So that's something I've seen recently, right? So that came out, you know, like I said, they're having deliberation about whether or not the mandates are going to be upheld. You know, I feel like a lot of people are starting to kind of feel like they've been lied to. I'm starting to get that kind of vibe from people, like, damn, like they're not as anxious. I feel like they're kind of just fed up, like, okay, whatever happens at this point. But I definitely don't think we're still in the same place we were at before. And I do think that over the next 6 months, 8 months, it'll probably subside. Now, normally I would wonder, how would we even forget about this whole thing happening, right? Like, how would we just go, damn, COVID is gone, right? A lot of people were not here in New York 2 years ago when COVID first happened, right? Was it even COVID? It was COVID. 2 years ago, there was riots in the street every day. Marches in the street every day. There were people more or less robbing stores, looting stores, breaking windows, setting fires, all types of stuff. I made a video about it on my Instagram. It's all types of stuff that was happening during that time period, right? Cops were shooting black people, which is not too crazy. You know, that's very normal that we've seen. A lot of craziness was happening. Every day you wake up, I would go on my Twitter and it was just fire. Like everything was just in flames. You think the whole state was about to burn down. And then one day, the news stopped reporting on it. The news just said, okay, everything's fine, we're good. And it went away. They didn't report about the marches. They were still happening. They didn't report about the looting, which was still happening. They didn't report about robbery or fights or anything. Still happening. They didn't report about it. So if there was a concerted effort to not post on the news about COVID for the next, I don't know, 7-8 months, it would probably disappear. Because the majority of people who were dying, the majority of people were not dying from it anyways. So I don't think that you would be walking down the street and people would just be dropping dead from it. So I think the amount of people that are currently dying who have it, if it's not reported on, you wouldn't really see it, right? People may still get sick, but you wouldn't really see it. And honestly, if I'm gonna tell a story that just kind of happened recently. If they decided to tell you that it's okay, you'll be fine, that also would then reduce the amount of people who are afraid of it. So recently, a friend of ours just tested positive for COVID, right? And she said that he was did she lose her loss of smell and taste and stuff?
I think so. She was
okay.
Her eyes were rolling everywhere. She was in terrible pain. I feel like she was dying. Okay.
Now that sounds terrible, right? And she took the vaccine. So I know people are gonna say that it would be worse if she didn't take it, which is, we don't know, but sure, let's go with that. It's fine. When she got to the hospital, they said, don't worry, you'll be fine, go back home. That's what they told her. She felt like she was dying, and they said, don't worry about it, just go back home. If they start telling that to people, listen, don't worry about it, it's not going to kill you, you'll be fine. If the news starts reporting on it, I feel like it'll just go away. It'll be one of those things like, yeah, you remember 2 years ago when we had to all get vaccinated, and remember when we were all going to die? That was a crazy time. The same way that we look at 9/11, the same way that we look at the thing 2 years ago with when the COVID first started in New York with all of the marches, the same way we look at any tragic event, we go, damn, that was crazy that happened. Well, let's continue life, and I think it'll just go away. That's my personal opinion on it. Now, over the weekend, I had a conversation with a family member, right, about COVID. Now, there are several arguments that I've heard over the weekend that I feel like everybody uses, right? Before I get to those arguments, y'all know on here I talked about this fact checker thing, and the more and more I see it now, the more and more ridiculous it even seems to be real. They now have, on my Twitter, I start seeing things like all of these words. One of the words was mass hypnosis psychosis. I think that's the word. No, mass formation psychosis. Let me see, mass formation. What is it called?
I think it's mass hypnosis psychosis.
Okay, mass formation psychosis does not exist, right? So according to it says here, fact check, no evidence of pandemic quote mass formation psychosis exists. Now, I personally don't know how you prove that it exists or doesn't exist. I just think it's funny that I start to now see a trend that whenever something comes up that may seem contradictory to the most common perceived narrative, it's fact check comes up and goes, oh, that's not true. That's not true. None of that's true, right? And honestly, if we're being honest, the things that fact check whatever that is, said was not true before, the people that they said that told them it wasn't true, or they used as quotes, have now come out to say those things are true. So I only saying this to say that when I see fact check now, to me, it has lost all credibility. And the reason I even bring this up, it's personal to our story. The reason why that is, a while ago, I'm like, if this virus was as deadly as people say it was, I feel like you would be walking down the street and you would just see bodies lying around. I feel like you would see people being found in their house dead. Like, you would see it in droves. And I'm like, we don't really see that. So I think that most people that get it die in the hospital. So I'm pretty sure if it was like Ebola or some other type of really fatal disease, people be eating dinner and just die. People be at the table driving the car just dying. If that many people were getting it, you would see blood. It would just be craziness. In my opinion, that's a pandemic. Like, when you look outside, it looks like it's a zombie apocalypse. People are just going crazy. To me, that's when I go, damn, this shit is really crazy out here. Honestly, similar to how we see now with how many people are catching COVID. Like, every single person, like, I was telling Melissa the other day, every single person that we know is just getting COVID. Like, everybody's getting it. And it was not like that before. Before, it was kind of just like, I know one person that got it. I think they got it. Maybe they got it. It's just getting crazy. The conversation I had recently, these are things I have a very tough time trying to have these conversations because I don't want to turn people off in the sense of I want to be able to continue the conversation without getting upset or attacking the other person, right? That's my goal when I have these conversations. So I have adopted a new method of the conversation by just asking questions, because personally I want to understand more. I don't agree with a lot of people are saying, so I want to understand what's going on more. The new thing I heard from this family member was that unvaccinated people who do not have the vaccine are killing people who have the vaccine. Bruh, I don't even know where to even start with that, because the logic was we have more of the virus in us if we don't have the vaccine. So when we give it to you, we are going to give you more. So I'll just put into numbers. If the vaccine, if you need 10 viruses to kill you, right? 10, what do they call it? What's the word they use for how to count the virus? They have a word for it that they use to count, like I think we call it a cell or...
particles?
Okay, sure. Let's go with that one. So let's say you need 10 particles of COVID to die, right?
Viral load.
Right. The logic is, if I am vaccinated, if I'm unvaccinated, right? If I have 20, it's more likely that I will give you 10, as opposed to if I was vaccinated, I would have only 5. So when I give you 5, you wouldn't get sick, right? That's kind of the logic that's being told. And to me, I don't think that people see how far this can be stretched. This is my question I ask to people, right? There is a chance that you can go outside and die from a lot of things. There's a chance you can die from a plane crash. There's a probability you can die from drinking water. There's a chance you can die from being on your phone, from using a cell phone, from, the fluoride quote in the water. There are chances you can die of anything that you do all the time. It's just a chance. Being born, there's a chance you can die from just having hereditary diseases, right? So at what point do you go, okay, I'm okay with this chance of me, I'm willing to take this chance, because people go throughout life taking chances that can kill them every day. Getting on a train, getting in a car, walking down the street, playing a sport, doing anything. Getting all these things have a percentage or probability they can kill you. And you go, okay, that one seems like that's safe enough for me to do. I'm going to do it. So I'm actually curious. This is something I'm thinking about right now. I wonder what the percentages is of people that will die on a plane. Okay, so this says the odds of dying on a plane are 1 in 9,821. That means there's a 0.005% chance that you will die on the plane, right? And you still get on the plane, right? Now let's see what it is of dying in a car crash. So the odds of dying in a car are 1 in 107. Okay, let's see what the math is on that. 0.009% chance of you dying in a car accident. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's always going to be a percent that you can die from something. That's just how life goes. But people's argument is now, I just want to keep lowering the percentages. I want to lower it more. I want to lower it more. I know it's at 0.009, but I want to lower it. I want to lower it more. There is no end to lowering it because there will always still be a possibility of somebody dying. So at some point you have to go, listen, I am willing to take the risk of possibly getting sick or possibly dying because the chances are so low anyways. So again, that's one of my biggest things. It's like, bro, at some point you have to just go, all right, I've gotten the vaccine, I social distance, I wear a mask. I don't have to force anybody else to wear a mask, because at the end of the day, if I'm wearing 2 masks, you're wearing 2 masks, you're vaccinated and I'm vaccinated, there is still a chance you'll get it and die. Okay, it's just possible. And honestly, there are people, it's possible to be in an area with no people, still get it and die. They say that it could travel through the vent and come in through the vent while you're sleeping and go in your mouth and kill you. So it's like, at what, so you gotta sleep with a mask now in your house because you don't want to die? Like, at what point do you exchange logic for sanity? Like, at what point you go, okay, you know what, that just seems crazy, I'm willing to take that risk. So that was one argument that I've heard, right? The other argument is this: people in the hospital shouldn't be affected by people who have the choice to get vaccinated. That pretty much means if you have some type of stroke or heart attack and you go to the hospital, you should be able to be seen because you go to the hospital. And a person who is not vaccinated should not stop you from going to the hospital, because what they say is the hospital is getting filled up with people who are unvaccinated or people who are actually sick cannot go to the hospital and get seen because of that, right? If somebody is sick and they go to the hospital, they should be seen in the order of which they got to the hospital, regardless of what it is that you are sick for. If you decided that you don't have, if you decide you don't want to get vaccinated and you go to the hospital because you got sick, that is how that works. Because if the hospital was filled up with people who had a heart attack and I came with COVID, I would get turned away as well. So that's just how hospitals work. As far as I know, it's a first come, first serve basis. That's how hospitals work. And the argument that they told me was, well, you had the choice to be healthy by getting the vaccine, so we shouldn't lose our right to the hospital because of that. Okay. My argument to that was, all the people that are overweight from their lifestyles, all the people that smoke, the people that chose to drive a car, the people that chose to eat unhealthy, if they get sick off of their personal choices, does that mean that they should also not be seen in the hospital because of their personal choice that made them sick? No, that's not how that works. If you are sick, you go to the hospital and you hope to get treated by the person or as soon as possible if they have the space to do so. That's just how that works. So again, these are arguments that I hear and I'm like, they just don't make any sense to me. Another one was this: why don't we, Melissa and I, want to get the vaccine, or most people in general want to get the vaccine, even though they are not injecting us with the vaccine? The mRNA vaccine is different than the actual vaccine. The actual vaccine that we know about, those ones normally give you some type of strain of the virus, and then your body builds up an immune system to it, and then you fight it off if it comes back again. people now don't have to even get the virus. They just get the mRNA version of it and they don't have the virus, right? So originally when I heard that, my process was, okay, I don't even know how mRNA vaccines work, right? I'm like, because from my history of knowledge, if the whole point of the vaccine in the past was, okay, we want your body to build up an immune system to it. So for it to do that, it has to know what the virus is. So we're going to give it a piece of it and it's going to do its thing and boom, you have immunity. So if they're not doing that, I don't know what the mRNA vaccine is even doing. Because if it's not giving me that, I don't know what it's doing. So coincidentally enough, I was on Twitter. There's a girl I follow. I think she be posting some fire content. I forgot. Let me see if I can find her name. Her name is For the Life of Ami, right? So she posted some stuff that I really agree with. You know, most of the things she posts I agree with. The other things I would have to understand more what she's saying. But she was saying that the only reason they call the mRNA vaccine a vaccine is so that they can use it for emergency authorization use. Otherwise, they would not have the authority to administer these vaccines or mandate them because they would not technically be an emergency. So because it's not a vaccine, they have to call it that so they can do what they're doing with it. So I still have not understood exactly how it even supposed to work. This is my theory, okay? And this is based off of a bunch of other theories I have. Here we go. I feel like Western culture or Western medicine is trying to play God. That's what I feel like. I feel like we are trying to manipulate how the body works instead of trying to help the body do what it's supposed to do. An example of helping the body do what it's supposed to do would be a cast, in my opinion. So you know that your bones grow back together. You put a cast on so that it grows back in alignment and it's not disformed or disfigured, right? I don't think that we should be trying to change the chemical structure of people. I think that's trying to play God. Now, I said even similar to the vaccine, I still feel like that's a similar way of the cast. We're like, okay, we're gonna give you a part of the virus that's not that dangerous, and we'll see if your body can create its own immune defense system ready for that. My theory of the mRNA vaccine, this is my theory, okay? I think, which is, they say it's supposed to boost your immune system. What I think that it does is, or I think it's a form of an immune system. I think they try to create an immune system and they try to give people that immune system. That's what I think they're trying to do. And I think that it obviously is not perfected, which is why it wears off often. Why you need to get boosted every 6 months, because your actual immune system is fighting off that. I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast recently, and they talked about how every time you get the vaccine, it lowers your T cell count, right? If you don't know what that is, the T cell count, there's another name for them, right? Your lymphocytes. Lymphocytes. Pretty much that means that those are the cells that go out and try and fight off your diseases. Those are like your white blood cells. Those are your white blood cells, right? So they said that the actual vaccine lowers your white blood cells for a certain amount of time. They didn't say whether or not it comes back, how soon it comes back, or if it stays at that point that it lowers it to. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, to me, just by going off of that, it would make sense to me that more people are going to be getting sick, especially with COVID, especially people who are vaccinated, because if the booster and the vaccine lowers your immune system or lowers your T cell count, it's not impossible to think that if you got or came in contact with another virus, you would catch it easier because your body does not have the strength to fight it off. Now, a problem that I have that people love to say, right? Now, this is based off my history of just reading about how the body works. This came from mostly when we were on the Dr.Sebi diet and learning about, you know, why the food is supposed to be good for you and, you know, what the difference is and stuff, so on and so forth. One of the things that I feel like I learned is that you cannot, increase your immune system, if that makes sense, right? All you can do is get it back to neutral. All you can do is make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. You can't make it better than it does at it's already perfect. It does what it's supposed to do. Now what happens is people eat terrible food, they have a bad lifestyle, things happen to, maybe they have some type of immunodeficient hereditary disease, things like that. Those will cause your immune system to become lower. Somebody fucked you up.
Plus 16.
For you?
Yes.
Damn. You put the plus 4 down first?
Right.
Damn. So
Dumb. I can't even see my cards.
So
That's disgusting.
what was I saying? The vaccine.
Damn.
You lost?
Yes.
Damn, you about to lose all your coins.
248.
Oh, what was that? The immune system. Oh, right. You want to clear up what's in your body so it can get back to zero. I think that what they're trying to do is give us an immune system. I think that's kind of the idea of how this is supposed to work. Again, from what I heard, it's not even a vaccine. So that's where I'm at with that. Now, so Rico Paul, shout out to Rico Paul. He had commented on the YouTube channel a while ago about a family member that he had, I think it was a family member. Let's see. See, that's crazy. Okay, so all right. So I'm going to read some of our comments we've been having on YouTube, right? So he said, "Yo, you like to talk about the COVID vaccines a lot. I got my second Pfizer shot back in June, and I'm doing fine so far. In August, I got a full physical with all blood work done, and I'm completely healthy." He said, "Are there any risk involved with the vaccines? Maybe, but also maybe not." My first thing to that would be that there are always risks with anything involved. So that's just kind of how life goes. There's always going to be, it's never going to be 0% risk. But he said he been chilling so far. He's good. You know, that's where he at. And I'm just curious, Rico. I don't know if you have or not. Let me know. Have you gotten the new COVID? Because like I said, my theory now is that people who are vaccinated are catching the Omicron more than other people. So I'm just curious if you had to deal with that similar thing. So he said someone in his family who chose not to get vaccinated has contracted COVID and is now in a hospital up in where he lives at, and is on life support because she can no longer breathe on her own. I used to argue with her about getting vaccinated and would never want someone to learn their lesson this way. My point is that if you choose to not get vaccinated, then you may be taking a much bigger risk than you bargained for. Choose wisely. So for me personally, I disagree with that, the last part, only because we don't know what the risk is of taking it, of getting a vaccine. And again, my issue is not even with the vaccine. I want people to understand that. If you want to get a vaccine, by all means, do what you want. If you want to smoke, if you want to do exercise, if you want to run miles, if you want to stay at home, whatever, do all of those things. Just don't mandate someone else to do the same things that you're doing. That is my only problem. And honestly, over the weekend, that came up in conversation where this family member told me that they are for mandates. And I'm just like, this is crazy. How could you think that it's okay for the government to force me to inject something into my body? How can you think that's okay when there are risks? It would be different if there were no risk. What they gave me as an option was, well, the government mandates you to wear a seatbelt. And I'm like, sure, this seatbelt is not, I don't even know what the odds of it are. But as far as I know, I don't think a seatbelt has killed anybody. I think that a car accident might have killed you, and a seatbelt may have contributed to that death because you couldn't get out of the car. But I don't think putting on a seatbelt and sitting in your car has a chance of killing you. There is a chance, a much higher chance, that you will die if you get the vaccine as opposed to wearing a seatbelt. So, and again, they don't force me to wear a seatbelt if I want to go to the movies, if I want to go play basketball, which I can't now do because of this. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And going to eat inside. They don't say, well, you don't wear a seatbelt, you can't come inside. You know, you can't go to school. You can't go to work. You're going to get fired from your job because you did not wear a seatbelt. They don't say any of those things at all. So that's another argument that came up. Is just, listen, how could you, my whole thing is, how could you say that it's okay to mandate that somebody else put something in their body that could negatively affect them? And if it does negatively affect them, what do you say? When I asked this person that question, they said, well, it's okay that it's for the betterment of the people, and that for the majority of people, and that is why we are doing it. Which again, I think is also false, because the majority of people are not dying. It's a minority of people are dying. Okay, less than 40%, probably, if we've been honest, less than 2% of people that catch it die. So who are we protecting? What majority are we protecting? Okay, so either way. But then, you know, shout out to Rico. He said that he had some good news, that he found today that she has now been taken out of the ICU and she is no longer in a coma. Our family was on pins and needles because we thought we were going to get the news that she passed at any moment. It was a 50-50 chance. He said, anyway, I still respect or support your right to not get vaccinated, but just know that the Delta variant is no joke. Life is a gift, and every day that you wake up is a new chance at life. She woke up yesterday. Now she gets a new chance. Now, I asked him, I don't know if she, you know, how she's feeling now. I'm very curious how she feels today. Does she feel like I should have gotten the vaccine? Is she okay with not getting it? So I'm curious how she feels about that. So Rico, let me know, you know, how she feels. If she changed her mind on that or not. That was what, I think a week ago. And then, oh yeah, so now, like I said a couple of minutes ago, I had signed up for a basketball tournament. Actually, he just called me right now. I got to answer that and call him back. I cannot play in a tournament now because I do not have the vaccine. So again, listen, I'm moving. That's my solution to this. I'm just not going to be here. I'm not going to play the games. And this is my whole thing. It's my free choice to do that. People here, like I said before, have never had to fight for anything that they really want. That we had a really chill life. Maybe a fight for like school and stuff. But I don't think in terms of like, I'm not gonna get into that. But either way, I personally feel like the reason why people wanted to come here and what freedom is supposed to be is the opportunity for choice. That's what it's supposed to be. If I don't like something, I could just not do it or move somewhere else. And that's how I feel, which is why I'm moving. I don't like it. I'm not going to force. I would not force nobody else to not get vaccinated if they wanted to. Like, think about how crazy that would be. If you flipped the switch and said, well, there's a virus going around, but you're not allowed to get vaccinated. That would be crazy to say to somebody. So I just think it should go both ways, either or regardless of that. But yeah, I can't play basketball at this place because they want me to get the vaccine, which I will not do. I'm not doing it. And, you know, I pay money for it. I'm gonna have to get that money back. I'm gonna call him like, you know, about 30 minutes and see what's going on with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for life update. Now episode playback. One thing that I'm working on doing, I don't know if I did it very well this podcast. I repeat myself too much. And the reason why I think I do that now is because I can't necessarily tell if what I'm saying is being communicated properly. So I'll probably try and say it in 3 different ways because I'm not sure if it was said or articulated very well. However, I still think I somewhat do that in real life. But in real life, the reason I do that is because, again, I look at somebody's expressions and go, okay, they did not understand what I'm saying, so let me say it a different way. But when I listen back to the podcast, it annoys me to hear myself repeat the same topic or the same idea in 3 or 4 different ways. So I don't know how y'all feel about it. I don't know. I know one of my friends told me that before, like a while ago. So I forgot which podcast that was, but that's something I definitely want to work on, is trying to be able to articulate it the right way and leaving it alone. And then last week I talked about what is considered a fee versus a price in terms of how we approach things that happen to us that are bad. And I want to make sure that I said it right again, like I just talked about. The reason why it's a fee and not a price is because when you buy something, you get value in return. When you pay a fee, it's because you did something wrong. So, for example, Melissa, over the weekend, a lot of things came up before we were able to do the craft fair. And it doesn't mean that she did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that I did anything wrong. That's just the price we have to pay for the value that we got back from the craft fair. She made $900 in that weekend. She had to go through a lot of things to get there. It had to, you know, travel around to get she had a handmade curtain that she made in the house, buying different fabric, painting the different parts of the setup and the display, and just different things that came up in terms of what was working and what was not working. All of those things was the price she had to pay to get something in return, and the value she got back was the experience, the money that she made, and then also the confidence to do this again somewhere else. So that's why everything that's bad that happens is not always a fee you have to pay if you look at it as a price, because you're getting something back that's of value. And then the last thing I'll probably say is saying like too much. I definitely did not think about it too much this podcast, but again, it's always something I'm trying to work on, is being able to cut down the amount of words I use and articulate and communicate accurately in one shot. Oh, bruh, how did I forget this, bruh? So this is wild. It's gonna be the end of the podcast. That's a wild thing. So I guess topic of the day, if you want to put it as that, it's not a far-fetched idea that we would lose the house in Philadelphia. Like, it's not far-fetched. It's less likely than yesterday when we first talked about it, but it is an option on the table at the end of the table. And the reason why that is because the contractor is supposed to send me invoices, right? He didn't send me the invoices, so the lenders are not giving us all the money from the draw. It's not a very uncommon problem. We've had this problem throughout the whole time of this renovation. I have out these loans that charge us back every single day. So before we made this or filmed this podcast, I was under the impression that I only paid the contractor $55,000, which means that we still would need $23,000 left over to pay him. We would have to now try and finesse $23,000 somehow. And the issue is two big hurdles that we have with this, right? The big hurdles are, even if we found a way to get the $23,000, that does not mean the job will be done this month. And if the job is not done this month, what that means is next month we won't have any money, but we still have to get charged every single day for the loans. And right now, the loans without any of our daily expenses is $8,000, give or take a couple $100, probably more, giving $100. So our monthly expenses are probably going to be close to like $10,000 for February, which we don't have. So we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to handle that. But he did finally send me the invoice, and we don't actually owe $23,000. We only owe $13,000, and I currently have about $13,000 in cash, not cash, like in credit and cash. So I'm gonna be able to take some off my credit card and turn it into cash and give that to him. But it's a lot easier to manage than the original $23,000 that we thought we had to pay. So we're kind of, like I said, we've gotten a lot better. I'm trying to refinance the loans that we currently have, like the small ones, and they're not really called refinancing, they're called renewing, which I just found out recently. It's a weird thing. I don't know if you ever had an MCA loan or heard of it or whatever, but what I just found out by reading the contract is that they don't consider them loans, right? So they, for whatever reason, something legally, they didn't say it on the contract, but they probably are not allowed to call what they do a loan. And if y'all remember, earlier in the year or last year in the podcast, I talked about how money is a product, and we don't look at it like that. So in the contract, that's how they look at it. They look at it as they sold us a certain amount of money. They sold us $10,000, and the price we pay for that $10,000 is $15,000. Think about that. That's crazy, right? Like, they sold us money for money. In the contract, that's how it's worded. But what that means is two things. Again, I'm gonna look through the contract to make sure, but that probably means we don't have to pay it back. Like, we don't, in terms of our credit, it's not, they didn't loan us any money, so it's not a credit situation. And then I also remember it saying something along the lines of, if we don't pay, all they're gonna do is charge our account a certain amount of money, and then that's it. So it's like $2,400. It's not like a small amount, but either way, our biggest thing right now is not having our credit score go down, which again could happen because once I max out my credit cards, my score's gonna drop, and that might lower the amount we give for the refinance for the house in Philadelphia. So I definitely want to put that in. I almost forgot that even happened. But that wraps it up for the end of the podcast, and you know what that means, guys. We will be back here next Tuesday. You can find all the behind the scenes content on our social medias. Mine is Donovan Gray, DONIVANGRAY, and my phenomenal, beautiful, amazing girlfriend, Melissa Burnett. Okay, ANETABURN. You know what it is. Hashtag Bamboo Project 2022 is gonna be a movie. All right. And with that being said, Bamboo Project out.